Hey guys, what's up and welcome to finally another tutorial on this channel. Can you believe it? The last time someone was dropped here was probably around sometime in the 90s. Anyway, today we're going to create a cool kind of hand lettering rubbery reveal animation. And yeah, well, in order to start, it's quite practical to use Adobe Illustrator. First of all, if you need to create a hand lettering design like this, of course you should use Illustrator. But I will only do the animation part today, and for that I also downloaded this hand lettering art from freepik.com, just some random lettering. Yes, and when I opened it, of course it looked like this. So this path is all one and the same path. This one is separate, which is good, but all the rest is just clustered together. And as you can see in the animation, if you look through it frame by frame, pay attention to the H. These are two separate animations, this first part of the H and the second one. So we need to separate all of these little parts. This stroke is okay, this one as well, because it's one smooth stroke. But for example, the H is one stroke. You just have to imagine the animation. So it will go down here. That's the first one. And then the second one, this one is quite smooth, kind of a S shape. Then for the A is going to be like this, whoop, and so on and so on. But luckily, if you have the same problem, Illustrator has a cool tool. First of all, I guess it is a compound path. Okay, so first of all, you have to release the compound path, otherwise nothing works. Okay, and now in order to kind of separate these shapes, just click the crucial anchor points, both of them, and click cut path at selected anchor points. And now you can see this shape is separated from all the rest. And I'm going to expand this layer, expand this one, and hide this one, so that I can smoothly press P for the anchor tool and close this. And as you can see, we have one shape. I will hide it, show the rest again, then do the same for this, and leave a little bit of extra space here, just so there's no thin white line, crappy buggy line after we finish the animation in After Effects. And this is one smooth line, so the next part is going to be here, bam, and cut. And then connect these points and connect these points. And for the A, I would suggest, if you have something like this, A or O or whatever, that you actually make so a full circle as the first part, and then this stroke as the second part. But of course, I will not record splitting all of these shapes apart, so I already did it beforehand. And as you can see here, I will quickly go through the letters. So this one I showed you before, this one as well. And for this one, as you can see, I made a smooth circle, and this is the second shape. So the A shape really only comes out after the second shape. And in case, quite straightforward. And for the O, I split up this letter into two parts, just because it's way easier to animate. Okay, and after you finish it, you can quickly switch to After Effects and create a new composition and hit OK. Just import your file, the After Effects file, drag it somewhere into the composition, and now wait for it. Okay, this dialog, you can just leave it how it is, composition, layer size, perfect. And now, as you can see, we have a composition here, and I was smart enough to split all these layers into all these shapes into separate layers. If not, you have to do it in After Effects, but this way is a lot easier. So I'm going to go into the composition, select all of these, copy them, go back into my composition, paste them here, delete my original composition, and select all of these again. Beforehand, probably I'm going to scale it up, just so it fills the whole screen. So I'm going to create a null object, pressing Option Control Shift, select all of these, and parent them with a little snail. Okay, and now I'm just gonna drag up the scale. Don't worry about the quality loss because we're gonna convert it into shapes anyway afterward. I think that should be fine. And now you can delete the null object again and select all of these layers, right click, create shapes from vector. Okay, yeah, that you can ignore that if that pops up for you. And I'm quickly gonna drag them all up to the top so that I can select all of the rest and hit delete. Sweet, so now we only have vectors, and doesn't matter how big we make them, we will never lose the quality. They will always stay vectors, they will always stay the same. Okay, and now you should group together all the letters as separate compositions. For example, for the T, I need these two shapes. So I'm gonna select those, holding down Shift and then Control Shift C to pre-compose, and I'm gonna call it T. Okay, then the next goes for the H. Then for the A, again two shapes, and you just continue doing that for all the letters that you have. And as a next step, I will go into the separate compositions in order to start animating this whole thing. So now starts the fun part. First of all, we're going to animate a stroke and use it as alpha matte in order to fill our shapes. Sounds complicated, it's not. So I'm just gonna create some kind of shape that kind of looks like that shape that we can see here. Okay, I'm gonna delete the fill because we don't need no fill. We just need stroke width. I personally like to press T and drag the opacity down to 50% just so we can see what's going on underneath. And also I personally like to type in cap in here and change the line cap to a round cap just so we get a more smooth kind of look in the end. The filling part is not an edge, but it's kind of rounded. Okay, and now you don't have to worry that it might overlap with this letter because we're going to use it as an alpha only for this part of the T. So you can drag it up all the way to, let's say in that case, 56. Why not? Okay, just make sure it fills all the areas. Okay, and as a next step, just click this little arrow here next to add and add a trim paths effect, open it up, make a keyframe at the end, and there's a cool shortcut, Option Shift and the arrow keys. You can move this keyframe around, so I'll just move it for, I don't know, 10 seconds, 10 frames, sorry, and drag the end all the way down to 0. And now we can see more or less a cool animation here. And of course I'm gonna have to ease it, selecting both of them, pressing F9. And now you can think about how you want your animation to look. Kind of like you want to start slowly and finish it up fast, or you want to start fast and end slowly, or you just want to push through, which is probably gonna be the way I'm gonna do it. Maybe I'm going to do the beginning a bit slower. Right now I'm in the speed graph, but it doesn't really matter anyway. Okay, let's see. Okay, and now once you're kind of glad with it, you can crank up the opacity again, toggle switches modes. If you can't see the track matte here, select alpha matte, and oh, that was the wrong layer. Okay, no track matte. This one is the correct one, alpha matte. Okay, now as you can see, it's filling the T. Perfect. And for the second shape, I just duplicate this one, make it visible again, opacity to 50 again, delete the second and third anchor point, just so I don't have to animate the trim paths again, and just do the same thing as I did before. I don't know why I did that. Okay. Yep. And if you hit G on your keyboard and press Alt, you can still manipulate them afterwards. And that's fine. Okay, good enough. And let's see how it looks. Probably I'm gonna add this a bit later, just so we have some time offset. Okay. Press T for opacity, drag it up all the way, make it an alpha matte, and there you go, you have your T. And now I'm just gonna make one more letter as you to watch, and it's going to be the H, just so you understand how to animate these kind of letters that have overlapping parts. For that, first of all, so I'm just gonna go back to this composition here, to my T composition, and copy my path, paste it here just so I don't have to do it again. Opacity to 50%, make it visible, and delete my two keys, anchor points. The first shape is quite straightforward, literally. Okay. Just make sure that the beginning is not too near to the edge, because when you have round caps activated and you think the path starts here, it actually starts here. So be sure that the first frame is still quite in the beginning, so it's not too harsh of an animation. For the end, you can be quite near to the end, just so you get your timing right. Okay, so for this, I think what I want to do is to start a bit slower and really be very fast in the end, around the time when it hits the bottom, like this. And I kind of want it to go down and then be elastic to bounce out kind of down here and take the swing back to finish the animation. So for that, I'm gonna duplicate this shape again. Sorry, I forgot this part. Make it a matte. Okay. And the other layer, the same process as always. This is my first point, and now this shape is a bit more tricky, but still no problem. Now you have to, the only thing you have to pay attention to is when it starts to fill this part, it shouldn't fill this part at the same time. So what you can do is you can make this path really barely touching this side of our H. So in the beginning, it only fills this part without touching that part. And I did it perfectly. There you go. Maybe I'm gonna leave a bit more place here. Okay. And now I can deselect everything and hit U on my keyboard, just so I can see all the keyframes, and drag these a bit more forward on my timeline, and maybe start the animation of the second part of the H just when it hits the bottom here. And in that case, I will start it slowly, not too slowly. Yep. And now we have some curves here. And what I would like to do is to make it get fast here, then slow down here again, make it fast again, slow down a little bit, and then finish fast in the end. And in order to achieve that, you're gonna have to go to that frame where it reaches the top here, and just click the little plus icon here, selecting your path tool. Just click the little path, the little plus in your graph editor, and go forward in your timeline again, and do it once more for this point. Okay. Now I need to manage my frames a little bit. Sorry. So we want a quite quick start here. Okay. and then start more slowly again. Okay. And in the end, it can be quite fast, but the beginning should be slow. Okay. Yeah, I like it. And now, same process as always, alpha matte, and see how it looks. Yeah, looks quite cool. And you repeat that process for all of the letters until you feel like it looks kind of cool. One more thing to note is probably that this H letter should be a little bit delayed. Like you can just drag it forward on your timeline, just so it seems like one letter after another is being revealed. And in the end, when you're glad with it, it might look somehow like this. Okay, so still looks kinda boring now. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but something is missing. And for that, it's good that you pre-composed all of your separate letters, because now we're going to animate them with our puppet position pin tool. That's the name. I am just going to demonstrate it very quickly. So the first letter would be the T. As you can see, here is my T. If I want, I can isolate it and select your pin tool and make points where you want to move the letter in an elastic way. For example, for this letter, I would make 3 points because I want this kind of place of the T to move around this part of the T. And every time when you make a new pin, it automatically creates a keyframe, but I personally don't like it. So I will select my layer, press U, select all of these keyframes, delete them, but still leave this page open. So I have all my puppet pins right here. And go to the part where the animation starts. Somewhere here, I can select this pin. There we go, it's puppet pin 1. Press the stopwatch for a keyframe, which is going to be the end position, and go to the beginning of the animation. And I personally think it looks quite cool when it kind of starts to pop out of here. I will select both of these keyframes, hit F9 and see how it looks. Yeah, kind of like this. And in the end, the T, it looks kind of boring. It's just revealing. So maybe we should select our mesh again, click the third puppet pin, make a new keyframe, and I'm going to drag the final position further down the road and really push out that arm of the T. Okay, and go a bit forward in timeline when it's still not filled completely, and really like get some get some momentum. Select all of these keyframes, hit F9, and just see how it looks. Okay, so maybe it looks kind of strange. Maybe I need to adjust the timing here a little bit, give it a little bit more dynamic. And now, of course, you can choose how elastic you want your material in that case to be. For example, if I really want it to seem very gummy, I don't know if that's the correct word, then I can still animate a couple more cycles. It pops out, pops in again, pops out a bit more, pops in again, until it slowly starts to settle. Kind of like a, I don't know, after bouncing. And then the same goes for this part of the T, but I will skip to a more complicated letter because you kind of get the concept here. Let's see, for example, the H. There is, for this, it's a bit more fun. So let's go to the end where it's revealed. Let's make some puppet pins. I will make one on top here, a second one down here, third one up here, one here, and one here. I hope that's enough, but I think it's, you can always test out if it feels good. And also what's important is if it's a really kind of complicated letter that has really narrow lines that are related to each other, and your expansion is way up, for example at 20, and I move this point, then you can see the whole letter will be influenced. So I like to keep my expansion quite low. For this letter, 5 is fine. If I move this point, these parts of the letter don't move too much. So once again, I will delete all of my keyframes. Okay. And go to the animation part. So here my idea was that it really starts to move down, to expand. So this is my second puppet pin. I'm going to hit the stopwatch and go to that point where it should be at the maximum length, maybe somewhat around here. Okay, go back a bit, drag it up. And now I'm going to show you something. If you even want it to bounce longer, then I'm going to drag my ending keyframe further down the timeline, copy it, paste it at this point, and make it bounce back even more. Okay, and then finally settling into its position. I'll show you in a second. This is how it will look like. You see? Maybe I'm gonna make it quicker. So just select all of these keyframes, hold on the Option key, and drag the last one, and you will see how you can change the timing. Okay. Yep, kind of like this. And now for this part again, I wanted to push this part of the H up a bit. So this is the third puppet pin. The same concept again. Drag it up, go a bit back. Okay, ease, and once more for this part of the H. There should be the maximum point probably. Drag it up, get some anticipation. Select all of these, hit F9, and there we go. This is already a quite cool looking H animation. And of course you can play a lot more, add a lot more elastic effects and really bounce that whole letter around. But for the sake of the tutorial, I will say that's good enough, and I will jump to the next step after we finish all of our letters. It's gonna look maybe somehow like this. So after everything is combined, the stroke reveal as well as our puppet pin animation, it can look somehow like this. And I added even one more step, as you could see in the beginning preview, but this one is quite straightforward. Basically I just made the thank a bit bigger and scaled it down, moved it up, and made a reveal of the second word just to connect them a bit more and that's even more dynamic. And in the end, I took this whole composition, threw it into a new composition, and now what is the amazing thing you can do with this composition is you can change the timing completely. So if you have this little button activated, you will see stretch here. So my original duration, my original speed looks kind of cool, but I don't know, I'm waiting for something to happen a bit more fast. So let's see how it looks if I really speed it up, let's say to 40%, which is more than double, like more than twice as fast. This is what it looks like. Quite fast. And I found my golden middle at 65%. This is also how I showed you the preview. So 65% is the speed that I settled with and also showed you in the preview. And yeah, I hope this tutorial helped you and you can create some nice funky new text animations, and I hope to see you in another 20 years. Ciao, ciao.